It's the middle of March. There's no more snow on the ground. It's about 50 degrees outside. Still a little bit wet and rainy, but that means bike season is upon us. And I got to get the Fezzari ready because, well, I moved from Phoenix, Arizona last year to Western Massachusetts. And this was the first time I had an off season, so to speak. And I discovered how cold it can be. I took the bike out for a ride in the middle of November, came back with frozen ears, put the bicycle down here in the basement, and haven't touched it since. Hello everyone, my name is Todd, and as always, I'm an old ass mountain biker, but I'm living in Massachusetts now. And we got to get the Fezzari ready for the season, and at least today, what we're going to do is focus on the drivetrain. I've already pulled the chain, but we're going to give it a good scrub. We're going to pull the cassette, service the rear hub, pull the front crank, make sure that that is well greased as well, and pull the derailleur and check out the rear hanger just to make sure it's straight. I got a little bit of a click when I'm in my highest gear, and yeah, so let's jump into it and see what it takes. With the chain removed and cleaned, we can now turn our attention to the rear wheel where we can pull the cassette, service the hub, as well as remove the derailleur and check up on my derailleur hanger and just make sure it is straight and ready to go. To remove the wheel, you will need a 6mm hex key, and it's just really as easy as that. All right, with the rear wheel removed, we can really get access to the rear derailleur. It needs a 5mm hex key, at least for the Fezzari, to remove the derailleur from the hanger. But before we do that, I also want to remove the pulleys. While I like to think I do a good job of maintaining my drivetrain throughout the year, there's still quite a bit of buildup and gunk. I'm going to take those off, drop them into the small parts container, and get them all cleaned up. For that, we will need a 3mm hex. And then let's just go ahead and remove the upper wheel first. There you go. And I don't know if you can see the gunk build up, but it's there all right. And yeah, let me go ahead and get that hanger off, make sure it is straight. I had recently reached out to Fezzari to ask about replacement hangers. And from what I understand, there is one major distinction between some of the versions of the Cascade Peak and the Abajo Peak as well. And that is, do you have a tab on the inside of your derailleur hanger? In my case, I do. So there we go. And if you can see that little tab right there will tell you which part to order if you have a Fezzari and need a replacement hanger. Put it on the floor, and my floor is pretty flat. So it does in fact look to be good, straight, and true. So I'm just going to clean out this area a little, and then we will put the hanger back on, and then we are going to service the rear derailleur while it is still attached to the cable. So I have GX or Eagle GX components on my bike, and they come with sealed bearings instead of bushings like some of the lesser expensive drivetrains. Neither one of these have a problem with the bearing, and I have decided that I am not going to actually take the seal off and re-grease everything. I'm just going to clean all of the buildup and the gunk that is on the pulleys themselves. So with the guide pulleys all clean, it is time to put everything back together, starting with the rear derailleur hanger. And we will go ahead and slot that in. And then just remember, before you put your bolts back on, I don't know if you can see, but there is a small drop of thread lock. Make sure you are using some kind of thread locker. So putting the rear derailleur back together can be a little bit tricky. The goal is to figure out how to hold the two end caps while ultimately putting a bolt through here and then screwing to this plate on the other side. What I have found works is taking the bolt, putting it through here, guiding that one on, and then this one here, really quick, line it up with the hole. There we go. And once it's started, now we're in good shape, and it's easier to do the top pulley. With the rear guide pulleys reinstalled, we can now attach the rear derailleur to the hanger itself with the 5mm hex key. So the next step in the drivetrain refresh is to remove the cassette so we can service the Freehub. And in order to do that, you will need a couple of specialty tools. You're going to need a chain whip. You will also need some kind of cassette locking ring tool. It is set with the correct splines to be able to turn this, as well as, in my case, a socket and a ratchet in order to actually turn the cassette, but you could easily use a crescent wrench as well for that. So to pull the cassette, you're going to take your chain whip and kind of drape it over the top of the cassette, get it locked into place. Make sure that the center lock ring tool is firmly engaged. And it's going to take a little bit of pressure. I want to say there we go, some 50, 60 Newton meters. And you're going to keep turning until it's completely off. And once it comes loose, this whole thing should come off in one piece. So with the cassette clean and set aside to kind of dry, let's go ahead and make sure we can service our Freehub. So the first step to that, we have to remove these dust caps. I can't speak for all bikes, but I know my bike, this one here, you just pull off. Sometimes it takes a little bit, you know, give yourself a little bit of leverage, but in the end, it should just pull off. We'll set that aside and come back to it. We are not going to remove the entire axle, so I'm not too worried about pushing everything through. So this here is our Freehub body that we want to service. And we're going to give it a good firm pull, and as you do, you have to be ready because there are pawls on springs inside, and you don't want to lose any. I have 6 pawls in my Freehub body. I did an upgrade from the 3-pawl Freehub body that came with the bike. If you're interested to see how I did that, I will put a link to the video in the description below. I'm going to set that off to the side. So with the Freehub all clean. You can use any type of really light grease. In my case, I'm just going to use some Muck Off dry lube, and we will put 1 drop on each pawl. So to get the Freehub body into the Freehub itself, I have greased up the bushing and put it in the center where the axle will go through. And it is easier to put this in with the axle removed, because if you put it at a slight angle and you rotate it, you can get the pins, or the pawls I should say, to seat themselves. And there you go, exactly like that. When putting the cassette back on, something to remember is how tight it should actually be. You don't want to over tighten or under tighten any of these bolts, and it's really good to invest in a quality set of torque wrenches, some for higher, some for lower. So a cassette needs to be at about 40 Newton meters or 29 foot-pound of torque, which is what I have the torque wrench set to. So let's just go ahead and get this all snugged up. There we go. All right, folks, I think we are going to call the drivetrain service good. I put the back wheel on. I haven't yet put the chain on, but if you're interested in how to remove or reinstall a chain, I will put a link in the description to a video that talks about the toe peak power levers and how you can use them to remove a quick link and reinstall the quick link. But yeah, listen, if you like the content, if you're interested in what's happening on the channel, please do me a favor and hit the like button and really consider subscribing. It does a lot for me, lets me know people are watching the video, and it helps the channel grow with, you know, YouTube's algorithms and everything. Got a couple of more big projects lined up for the next couple of weeks. We are going to do an adjustment on the rear derailleur just to make sure it's in good shape. I've purchased 2 new brake rotors. So we're going to upgrade the front to 200 millimeter, the back to 180, and then we're getting ready for some bike park this year. So I hope you guys will join the journey. Thanks, everyone.